for Barons down.
Oh, you know what I was on about?
Yeah, I was just there.
Anti-magic
Oh, so good.
down.
That's when they rage quit now, isn't it?
So 8.1 just landed, and it brought with it some massive overhauls to the levelling process, most notably being the massive reduction in the amount of experience needed to gain a level. With these changes in effect, I imagine a lot of you are looking into levelling alts, and as such, I saw no better time to release my video on the best addition you can make to your levelling plan, Battlegrounds. More accurately, the winning of Battlegrounds. In my first low level Battleground of 8.1, I found myself getting 1.2 levels for the victory, in a BG that only took about 8 minutes to win. That rate of levelling is extraordinary and something we should all be looking into. The only caveat here is that almost all the experience you receive is tied into the win condition of the BG. You do get some experience along the way for the completion of objectives, but almost all of the benefit is found in that moment of victory, and as such I thought I'd talk to you about some of my massive tips on how to improve your win rate at low level BGs. Now, not all of these are going to be viable for everybody, and whilst these tips are aimed at lower level BGs, a lot of the principles hold true for max level BGs also, so let's just dive in. Now first up, I wanted to discuss add-ons. So there are a few add-ons that you are going to want to greatly improve your win rate in BGs. I'm going to talk about a few of them here and leave a couple of links in the description below for you guys, but please do bear in mind that these are just some examples, they are the ones that I use. Other add-ons with similar functionalities are available. So first up, we're going to talk about having some sort of nameplate add-on. Now I just use the one that comes with LVUI, it does a perfectly good job for me, but there are others out there if you don't use LVUI yourself, but you are going to want something that will provide you the information above the nameplate of opponents with regards to the duration of buffs and CCs that are on them. So this is just going to help you to time your execute perfectly for when an ice block ends, or be able to not hit a target that has been blinded by a rogue and break the CC. It is a very minor add-on, but it is one with a great use and it does prove to be very helpful. Also helping to track CC is Battleground enemies. Now this add-on is a goldmine of information and functionality, allowing you to see who is on the enemy team, whether any of them are healers so you can focus on them, seeing who holds a flag, how many people are targeting a particular character, the cooldown on their trinket, and so much more. Beyond that, my favourite use for this is actually one that isn't obvious to many, and that is that if I'm defending a base and the enemy has stealthers, I can click on the enemy stealther on the add-on, and if I'm unable to target them, that means that they are either dead or in stealth, and obviously by extension, if I can't target them, that means that there's a good chance they are in stealth and I should be on alert for a potential invade from a rogue or a feral druid, something like that. Now the final add-on I want to discuss is capping. Now this add-on is fantastic for providing timers for information relevant to the victory in a BG. So most commonly this is used for things like letting you know when a flag is going to respawn in a flag capture, or letting you know when a base is going to be taken over in, say, Rathi Basin, and allow you to plan accordingly. It does also provide the scores and a prediction of the end scores in base-based BGs, and allow you to have an idea as to how far ahead or behind you are at the current state of things. But on top of all of that, it does have a few additional functionalities, most notably being that it provides you with a timer that is somewhat more accurate than the one Blizzard provides for when your Battleground queue is going to pop. Next up, we're going to be talking about heirlooms and enchantments. Now most of you are aware of the importance of heirlooms. They're fantastic pieces of gear and you're going to want as much of them as you are capable of getting your hands on. But what people often miss is the importance of enchantments on their heirlooms. Now you can get enchantments for pretty much every heirloom, and they do obviously increase your functionality when it comes to combat. But if you are struggling to find the funds to acquire the heirloom enchantments, they are, a lot of them, optional. They are going to make it easier for you to do well in combat, but they aren't required. That being said, the exception for this is weapon and necklace enchants. I have been able to one-shot people in low-level Battlegrounds when I get a big crit from an ability teamed with both a proc from Elemental Force on my weapons and also Mark of the Hidden Satyr on my necklace. Now, with regards to what heirloom enchantments you should be getting, I'm going to put a link to a spreadsheet in the description below that will give you all the information for what enchantments you want for what bits of gear depending on what class and spec you have. Now this leads nicely onto the next point, which is what class you're going to play. Now sure, a lot of you are going to be leveling specific classes for a specific reason and you're just using the BGs in order to get that character to max level. But if you're not, if you're just looking for something new, or maybe you're trying to get a few of the hard to get PvP achievements and it's going to be easier to do at a lower level, then there are some classes that you're probably going to want to take a look at. Most notably, at very low levels, you do end up finding a lot of hunters, rogues, occasionally a mage, and an awful lot of warriors. These characters are simply very strong at this level bracket because WoW's PvP is horribly unbalanced and made even worse by playing at a low level. Now the other route you can go is that you can play a healing class, and those are going to make your BG wins even easier. A lot of people are already playing the overpowered damage classes, and having a healer on your side is going to make things so much easier, especially at these low level brackets where CC is rare and hard to come by and interrupts are just the same. It makes playing a healer an awful lot more easier, and also the fact that when you heal at low levels, it's not uncommon for a single spell to take a character from practically dead all the way up to full, meaning that one healer, even at a very modest level of skill, can easily change the tide of battle in these BGs and give a loss into a victory. Next up, I'd like to talk about the strengths of playing with other people. Now, I know that you're obviously going to play with other people, you don't have the option of doing a one-man BG, but what I mean by this is that if you have friends who you know to be skilled who are also looking to level alts, or even if you're doing these battlegrounds by yourself and encounter a player who is highly skilled and made your victory easier, you do want to try and get these people to play with you, because not only does having more skilled people obviously help you in terms of your potential for victory because your players that you are playing with are skilled, but also they take up a slot in the BG that might otherwise be taken up by someone who's terrible. And as much as someone who is good at the game can win you a BG, it's even easier for someone who's bad at the game to lose you that BG. Now, it's sad that this is the case, but it is true, so if you can get yourself a 5-man pre-made of skilled players, chances are at low levels you are going to be able to just stomp through wins and just continually farm victories for nice easy leveling. Now it's time for the most controversial tip, but it is going to be proven and I will explain it, so please do bear with me, and that is that you are going to want to play Horde. Now, as much as I love the Alliance, I do actually prefer playing them to the Horde. I much prefer the cities, and for the most part I prefer the races. There is no denying the fact that when you look at the data, there is simply a massive skew in the favour of the Horde when it comes to the win rate of casual BGs. This wasn't always the case, the win rate used to be a bit closer, but now that they have split the 40-mans into their own separate queue, in which the Alliance have a firm dominance, queuing the random BGs that do not include these 40-mans means that the Horde is going to have a much higher rate of victory. Of course, this doesn't mean you can't win as the Alliance, but just bear in mind if you do make an Alliance toon, you are going to get less overall experience from doing these battlegrounds because you won't be winning as many of them. Now next up we're going to talk about consumables. Now consumables are often going to be something that isn't all that beneficial to you, but every now and then there is the odd one whereby a consumable hasn't scaled properly going back into the old world, or doesn't have a level requirement on it the way that it should. And people will find these, and if you can be one of those people that is aware of these, it can give you a massive advantage when it comes to the battling side of your battlegrounds. I remember a little while back there was an issue with flasks that didn't have a minimum level requirement, and as a result people were gaining primary stats that were pretty much the same as wearing 2 extra pieces of gear, and obviously that gave them a distinct advantage when it came to combat. Now these are often very short-lived and they do vary in terms of how important they are and how long they last before Blizzard changes them. But if you do know of any, please do leave them down in the comment section below, let other people in on them and see if we can't make ourselves get a bit more leveling out of it. And finally, and most obviously, play the objectives. Victory does not come from fighting. The fighting is a side note of practically no importance, and you should always be doing the objectives and only fighting when the objectives demand it. I appreciate this isn't as fun as just brawling around in the middle of nowhere, but brawling loses games. When the enemy has picked up your flag, you want to abandon your brawl, you want to go straight for them, and you want to kill them as quickly as you possibly can because they're easier to kill before they get support. The faster you can meet an objective, the easier it is to attain. Now, this isn't to say that you shouldn't fight. Most of the time these BGs are designed well enough that fighting is a part of the objectives, but when it comes to, ooh, I can pick off that guy and get an extra kill for the scoreboard, but it's going to cost me 3 seconds, which I could be going towards that flag carrier, and that could get me that killing blow on the flag carrier before his healer gets there, that's where you're really going to shine. I am not even slightly fussed where I come on a leaderboard, it just doesn't matter to me. Honourable kills, you're going to get them anyway by doing the BGs. The victory is the variable, and it's the variable that provides you with the experience that this guide is all about. It will also help to create you friends, and that is again going to play into getting you teammates that's going to then fuel the capacity to win further BGs. Now, one argument I always hear when I'm telling people that they need to play objectives is that they say, well, no one else is, how can I do it all by myself? Well, people don't realise that playing an objective is not as simple as a tick box that is a yes or no on whether you are successful with that objective. You can have differing scales, and one person certainly can make the difference. So, for example, if you are that one person who gets to the flag carrier before he meets his team, you can win that one-on-one duel and get the flag return before you end up in this 5v5 healer fest scenario where nobody dies and it's an absolute nightmare. Alternatively, in a base defense BG, if no one is defending a base, someone is going to come along and take it. If you go and defend but you're underskilled or you're in a bad matchup, you're not a good class for defending, then you're probably going to die when someone comes to you, but you will also act as a deterrent. People are less likely just to walk up to go and try and take the base, and even if you only hold that base for a brief moment, that brief moment could well be the time it takes to get a flag capture in Eye of the Storm, so you're going to get more points for having that base, or maybe it's going to allow a respawn to occur at that base, giving people a territorial advantage towards going towards other objectives. So do not think for a second that because you're only one person and you're not well equipped to do the objective, that you should just ignore it. So that's going to do it today, guys, for this guide on a few very basic tips on how to improve your low level BG win rate. If you did enjoy the video, please do like it. If you want to be informed on the follow-up guide to this or any other guides that I do when I bring them out, then please do consider subscribing to the channel. And as always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one.